and welcome to LARP News. And you know what time it is. It's PreLARP. It's Ian, and I'm joined by my friend as ever.
Hello.
It's
PreLARP
Dave.
time.
Oh yeah, it's PreLARP time. And this is E4 2023. There's a bit of a gap between the event and doing this, so sort of stepping in, I'm a bit worried I'm going to forget some things along the way.
We're going to forget some stuff.
But
like, there's lots of broad notes
yes,
that I would say are very exciting.
Yeah.
In fact, I was like, man, there's so much to talk about. And then I was like, oh, should I, like, not mention stuff? I'm feeling like I just want to spill the beans on everything that happened.
I don't
it was a big event.
Yeah, this is a big one. I really felt like this was like a end of season finale.
Yeah.
Right, I really felt like a whole bunch of sort of personal plot points and plot points in general were kind of like coming to a close, and then having that whole thing of like, and next season, it had that vibe to it.
I would go as far as to say,
yeah,
E4 was the culmination of my political career.
Yeah.
I feel like a fair statement.
No, that's a very fair statement. And I think if that's not a teaser for you to listen to this full set of episodes, and if you're not as excited as I am to hear about what Gellert Ashbourne has been up to, then you're probably listening to the wrong podcast.
He's a crazy man.
Man. But this is the PreLARP. And
I forgot it's the PreLARP.
Dave's favourite of all things.
Who doesn't love a PreLARP?
Oh no, this is great. So for me, this was there was quite a few things I wanted to get in place for this one, and you're kind of getting that vibe the whole time you're going along and building up to the last event of the season, where you're like, this is the last event of his season. I want to squeeze as much juice from that fruit as possible.
Squeezes the berry.
Yeah.
Get
so
that juice. Yeah.
I went all out on creating things and making things ready for the event. I made an extremely large quantity of bubbles.
You did. You made a lot of things.
I made a lot of things. I made a lot of bubbles. I made 200 of my Ashbourne information sheets, which are these kind of
200?
cheat sheets. Yeah. I gave 180 of them away as well. I only had 20 left at the end, which I think is pretty good going.
It sucks that, like, you're not selling them and you are just giving them to new players. It's so good, but at the same time, think about those dollar bills.
Well, I have asked
or the thrones, I should say.
I have asked for some prosperity from people.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. With this one, I was like, I'll ask for prosperity. Obviously, if people are new, I'll just give them away.
I can't believe that you're hustling new players.
But no, it was good. It was. I actually made some pretty reasonable money, which kind of linked into a kind of a semi last minute project. I've been at a bit of a loose end since losing the captaincy of the Navarches, which is totally.
Well, you were so busy with that, obviously.
Yeah, and but like basically, just I had this weird moment where it's like, what is next for Talos? What does Talos do? Like, what do I make my thing?
That's a good question.
And it's like,
going to fancy parties and blowing bubbles.
There's that, but I do that anyway.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
So it's like it's nice to have a thing that I'm doing, and the military game was always part of that, and I was involved in the military game, and though I can still be involved in the military game, and I intend to be in the future. It kind of got me thinking about trying out some other things that I'd never really thought about doing before. One of them was to try and get a thing built. I thought it'd be a good project to try and get.
I literally
just
forgot
remembered
about
what this was.
Yes,
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
So obviously, as well, if I'm going to have something built, and this is basically the way this works. If you're not familiar, is you can have a sinecure or a ministry built, which are basically like structures in the fictional world of the Empire that get built in regions, and these basically give certain boons. That the owner, which is an elected position often, for these positions, will receive. I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to be in keeping with who the character of Talos is, so I came up with this idea of doing like a rejuvenation project of the Fever Water Bay, and basically making, originally I called it the Bubble Brewers Butarium, which was basically going to be this kind of in my mind, because Farunin, which is my home territory, is kind of like a marshland, essentially, a swampy place. In my mind, I had like New Orleans in my head, and I really liked the idea of doing like a party town on the Fever Water, where there's bars, casinos, tiki huts, It's kind of morphed into like a big spa resort now in my mind. You know, all of this kind of stuff. A fun town,
a place for R&R.
Yeah, and it's just like also a cultural centre as well, in a sense, right? Like a place of celebration and art and like exchange in that sort of sense. So that the idea would be that this would be a business that would be built there, essentially, a business sinecure, and that was like a project that I wanted to do. Again, I'm broke, like really broke. Like, bear in mind, Talis is never trusted with more than about a crown at a time, for various reasons. So this was like a big challenge to see if I could turn a crown, which is basically what I had to my name, into enough money to sort of start working towards this. It's a long project, and a part of the game I've not really engaged with before. So I got this large piece of gold paper, and I basically drew like a blueprint down of my plan for the FIFA Warfare rejuvenation project, all in gold pen.
It was quite the diagram.
Yeah, I wanted to, and I basically the plan, and I wrapped it with like a green ribbon, and I was basically running around showing people. That would be the sort of idea, to sort of get them to help fund this thing. I need to do more work on it, but that was like the back burner project for why I was trying to get some money in this time.
Yeah,
and to have something on the go. So I made a whole bunch of bubbles to sell. I had obviously all my information sheets. I also had all of my old stuff. So I still got all my alchemy books and stuff to sell. And I need to do better, as I've needed to do, to actually sell and shift those, because they're worth a fair bit of money, but I just never actually do it. Meanwhile, you were on the flip side of this. You're like, as Mr. Senator, are involved in actual serious letters, I'm assuming.
Well, you think that.
Yeah.
I just received a lot of letters.
Okay.
And I, again, didn't really reply to any of them.
Sure.
I had, like, a lot of my constituents were asking about what I had done for Hakinia lately. And they had gone through my voting, like my proposals and seconds in Senate.
Right.
And I haven't really done anything for Hakinia. And this is a completely valid thing. I would say, from what I understand, trying to do something for your own territory is not a year one thing you do as a senator.
Yeah.
So I've done a few things over the course, which I'm actually very proud of, but nothing was based on Hakinia, mainly because the Empire's fucking broke. We actually have like a build-up of buildings to be built,
Yes.
and no money to fund them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will want something to be built,
like me,
like you,
Yeah.
and then not have any money to pay for said building, and then expect other people to pay for it, i.e. the Senate or other people.
Yeah. So this was basically expressed to me, and the only way this is possible is basically if you turn up with all the money.
If you show up with all the money, you might get
That's
it.
basically the gist of how I.
But bear in mind, there are like a whole backlog all over the Empire of unbuilt buildings.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's many in Hakinia, but like this is a problem empire wide.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like, so a lot of the stuff to do with a place called Treji, which is a city that was that had artisans and stuff there. The Thule, when they had it before the Orcs liberated it, had done a number on it.
Yeah.
Okay, they had like wrecked it.
There's the Treasury Way House, right?
There's a Treasury Way House which trades a bunch of stuff, but not. It's actually like the city area that at the time I was told had a what's it called, a rune forge. I don't think it has a rune forge. I was told last minute at the end of the event. I'll go into this later, but but I was thinking, like, what can I do for my constituents, right? I've got my election at E1. I might not win. It would be nice if I was going to try and get re-elected to be like, here's what I've done for Hakinia. Oh man, I met up with Simon, Leafy and Bungle in Cambridge, and we had a pint and we had a big old chinwag about what I could possibly do. There's a few things you can do, and a lot of them are kind of symbolic. But I had my my campaign which was based on
Right.
prosperity,
Yeah.
death to the Valorn,
Yeah.
get stuff done,
Yeah.
and what was the last one? There were 4.
Virtuous.
Virtuous.
Yeah.
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 And they were my
They're your things.
campaign promises.
Yeah.
I feel like I've stuck to a bunch of those.
Yeah.
But, needed a bit of work.
It's tough. I mean, it's important to say, I think, like, you only get a motion and a second every sort of summit, right? And these are...
E1, I didn't get my motion. All I had was a second.
Right.
Because Riz, the previous senator, had used it.
Right.
So I've only really had 3 motions under my... Well, including E4.
Yeah.
3 motions.
Yeah.
So...
It's hard, right? And you're learning the ropes, because this is something you haven't done before.
Yeah, but it's also like I wanted to leave my mark.
Yeah.
Like... yeah.
You definitely have done that.
Well, I just wanted to mean like... Gellert Ashbourne did a thing.
Yeah. You definitely have done a thing.
I've done a thing now. So anyway, that's main event stuff.
That's main event
and
stuff.
You pre-LARP savages, you just want spoilers, don't you? So you're not going to get anything out of me.
No, he doesn't play ball.
No.
I had some other stuff to do on the complete flip side of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I had some parties to prepare for.
Obviously.
So there was, which we'll get to. There was a wedding that you were not to be told about for some reason.
I don't really understand this, but yeah.
I don't understand it either. But you were not to be told about this wedding apparently, and I was doing all the snack preparation, getting ready for that.
Yeah.
And then also there was a bunch of tournaments going on. Essentially, was the Navachas were taking part in a archery tournament. And then there's also the Fawns Cup, which I've kind of decided Talis he likes the idea of bigging it up. I like this. I've got in my mind, I kind of like the idea of turning it into more of a spectator thing and like trying to get more people around to see this display. So yeah, I wanted to get a whole bunch of treats for the audience to watch and stuff for that. So I've been working on that. It's been kind of ongoing thing. So I had a whole bunch of Ian treats and party accoutrement to get ready. The other thing I had to do, I wanted to write a letter to Yelona.
Leave that poor lady alone.
And
leave Yelona alone.
Well, we'll get this was cool.
Stop torturing her.
So I was basically like, because the whole thing that happened,
your actions
Yeah.
potentially led to the death of her sweetheart.
Yeah.
And since then, you have constantly made it about you.
Yes. So this time I decided to write this letter, which was basically like, you deserve to know the truth of what actually happened.
Ooh.
And but I'll only tell you, and I'll deny it if you tell anyone else.
Spicy.
And to meet me in the Corpse Glade, and we'll do it there.
Corpse Glade.
I thought it was fitting. This was awesome, but it was cool to set up this bit of RP that was basically, there's only one other person in the nation who officially I see knows what actually happened. Mm-hmm. So it was cool to have that whole thing of like, I will tell all, and I have this kind of general philosophy, I think I've spoken about it a bunch, that there's no point in having a secret unless people know about it.
Nope.
But also, it's just a good game, and it just like spreads it out, and lots of people not lots of people, there's a number of people who know OC. I'm afraid I won't really get into it here, because I think it's the kind of thing you have to find out about. But I think it's interesting to see how certain people understand. And it's even not that big a thing.
I know what happened, everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The other thing I decided was, when going monstering, lately, I really enjoy monstering, okay? And I enjoy a certain type of monstering, which is basically getting stuck in and just being a savage.
Doing your tongue thing that you do.
Yeah, or just going crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the monstering units I've run with, sometimes it just ends up in a lot of like shuffling about and not really doing a lot.
Yeah.
That's no criticism of the skirmish crew or anything. It's just sometimes that's how it sort of pans out. And basically, I got in touch with the Black Scar, and they had EMU, which is called the Girth Guard, which they have kind of been
the
put together.
Girth Guard.
Yeah, and I was like, they described this on the Shatter Song Diaries. There's just a podcast you guys should definitely listen to.
Other podcasts are available.
Other podcasts are available. They described this, and when it was described, it sounded like the exact type of monstering that I wanted to be involved in. So I basically begged to be allowed to join them and be involved in the Girth Guard, and that turned out to be a lot of fun. Being involved in the preparations for that and getting ready for that, having that as a thing to do, was some nice kind of pre-LARP stuff to do. Other than that, it was really just like that. It was actually, I think we then just go to getting to the event itself, and it was a hot one.
It was hot.
It was really hot. I think this was the hottest of all the events, right?
I feel like it was. Like, we've had some hot ones this year.
2 was hot, right?
2 was hot.
But I felt this was hotter.
It was muggy too.
Yeah, I think that was the humidity was intense.
Like your dad says, it's not the heat, it's the humidity that gets you.
Yeah.
And it was muggy
Yeah.
and very warm. In fact, it was very sunny at the start, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was... And which was strange because it had actually been not great weather either side of it. But yeah, going in it was very hot, and setting things up, I think everyone was doing it at a fairly kind of chill pace. We decided that I would wait for...
Very chill, actually.
Yeah.
Too chill, probably.
Too chill. Well, the problem was I was waiting for Orion to turn up because I was going to... rather than set up the other 4 metre, before we'd set up his 5 metre, and then I would camp in his tent. He ended up arriving later than I thought he was going to be there, and light was going down, so it's like it basically meant that all the things were hanging outside the tent for quite a long time, and it was the first time he'd ever set the tent up as well, so the ground sheet wasn't zipped in or anything like that. It all needed to be done from scratch. So there was a lot of like setting it up and then just throwing things into the tent. So I like normally when we're doing a Thursday, we set things up.
You like a bit of order, don't you? And you like to take your sweet time.
Yeah, there was none of that this event, and it was way too hot for it as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I would say this is probably the most lax our camp has been in for a while, anyway.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
which is fine. Actually, I genuinely didn't mind it. It was still good enough. We still had a good time with the camp. There was nothing bad about it, but it wasn't up to where we normally take it, which is not particularly high, by the way, listeners, but I think we did drop it a little bit. But the heat's a big part of that.
I don't know. I think during time in, our camp looked pretty baller. But like the Thursday was very relaxed.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely.
We had a few drinks, headed over to the Forge, which is the pub.
Yeah.
I met a bunch of listeners.
Yeah, you did. I didn't. I heard about this.
Occasionally,
yeah.
Also, there's this weird thing that's happening at the moment where we've been very low on the radar. Yeah. Extremely low on the radar, okay? Like, I think people have this impression of us being significantly more celebrity than we actually are, and we really aren't. But this is the first time where I had a bunch of people say that they listened to the podcast, and it was really, really nice.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't. Yeah. But it's like, it's lovely actually when people come up and say hello and things like at LARPCon and stuff, having people come up and say hi. And
the best is nice. You got me into LARP, or I'm here at Empire because of you guys.
Yeah, it means a lot.
That's fucking awesome.
Like, because I think like we're all self-conscious and stuff, so it's lovely when people come up and say hello, and people are really nice.
I'm getting better at it. Like, there's nothing actually weird about it. It's like people are just really fucking nice and hype.
People are lovely. Yeah. I really enjoy it actually.
So yeah, I just to mention.
Yeah.
Had some really nice interactions with people in the Forge who were basically like, "Oh yeah, I came to Empire because of you guys," and blah blah blah. And I was just like, "Man, that's cool."
I was just in a really nice vibey place where it's like it's the end of the year. I don't really have like with a lot of my personal RP had reached that point where it was like I just had a few things to wrap up. It did feel very end of season, but in a good way for me. So I was kind of walking into the event thinking like, I can have a pretty chill one, really. And
I did not
feel
that way.
You were very much at the opposite end of this.
Like,
and,
I've got a Facebook Messenger chat with my cohorts, which is called Super Secret Chat, and we talk about stuff. And it's like we're like, I feel like I'm pedaling really fast, and like the wheels are just spinning an awful lot in my political career. I
think that is the nature of the beast. I think you do learn that like it's your thoughts of the things you can do and the way in which the pedal drives the wheel is not like, quite as you think it is.
The amount of time spent thinking, scheming, trying to come up with good ideas, talking about how we're going to enact those things, like the actual amount of time is so small that you're like you from time in you're always going and even then it's like you're really not achieving very much.
Well, the other thing is as well, like whatever you're doing, there's also lots of other big things going on which are capturing attention all the time. I mean, there's a new foe that has come on the scene, for example, called the Cold Sun, which has kind of emerged onto the scene and is like a big deal in the evolving narrative, if you like, of the Empire. They're basically like an Eternal is really not very nice and wants to fuck us all up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on with it. But the long and short of it is like you have stuff like that, which you can plan as much as you like, but for certain people, that is the top priority, right?
Well, it's also like, I don't know, I feel like, we're probably going to talk about this later, but like the idea of me being a senator, there's like, I think the problem is you look at other senators and you only see what they're good at.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what sort of senator am I?
Yeah.
And I feel like this event, I got the flavour of Gellert the senator.
Yeah.
Has like I know exactly what sort of senator I am now.
I feel as well this year specifically, I feel like you've had a much better grasp of the character in terms of his personality and the way he conducts himself, and the RP that you do as Gellert feels more defined than I think this is the time you've really kicked it up a notch. I think you've tied in what it is to be both Gellert and Gellert as a senator a lot more, and I think that's been a real good thing to see.
I think it's important. Like before, I was just trying to do what I thought was and it works with the character where it's just like, oh man, Gellert believes in the system. He believes in the Empire. He wants to see things done right, and sees things not being done right, or at least he doesn't think they're being done right.
When you were designing Gellert as a character, because because obviously you came hot on the heels, obviously, of Ifan, who was, he was a very ambition-driven. That, in a sense, his character is very like one note's not the right way of phrasing it, but he had like this very singular kind of way of viewing the world and drive.
Yeah,
and then you come off him.
It was a very warlike.
Yes. Do the thing.
Gellert is significantly more fun. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like because when you first obviously turned up as Gellert, he was literally like a skin you made at the event, right?
No, Gellert was... No, he wasn't a skin I made at the event. I had a throwaway character
of course
and then I remade it.
Yeah.
Gellert was going to be into diplomacy, I think. I mean, listeners probably know better than I do. I know he was going to be interested in diplomacy.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him to be a seafarer and travel the world.
Yeah.
Again, loads of elements of me. And go and like learn about cultures and other people. And I had been given back when Skywise Fowl was around, he gave me a pendant that said "Do not fear to act."
Yeah.
And this was the kind of driving force behind Gellert, was to try and like make things better. But obviously Skywise Fowl, as soon as I got elected, Skywise Fowl was gone.
Yeah.
I was probably haven't seen eye to eye with the Imperial Consul, and like felt like I was bashing my head against a brick wall trying to see the bigger, wider picture rather than the kind of status quo in our diplomacy.
Yeah.
The next extension of this was I'll become a senator because then I'll actually be able to do stuff and I'll have more power. And I feel like...
Because you've had this element of, like, I think you've explained this a lot, like, Gillet's like a true believer in the systems of the Empire.
Yes.
Right? He really believes in it.
That it's the best form of governance.
Because it's...
the way is the best religion. And by doing these things... everything's going to work out well because the system works.
Yeah. Is that something that you have developed into the character over time, or was that always there? Or what sort of... I'm just interested because I think this year specifically, it's felt like your character's become way more defined in your head, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's always been the case. Like, I think it's more... Gellert was, like I was, a lot more... rosy-cheeked and kind of innocent towards things.
Right.
I think Gellert now has become a significantly more confident political operator.
Right.
Like I represent Hakinia. I want to make my constituents happy.
Yeah.
I want to be an active force for what I believe in, rather than given dogma that is in the Empire at the moment. Like, I think basically taking a stand on things and being a person who really like follows through on his convictions is something that I really wanted to do, and I feel like I've done that in this. And it's what's interesting is by playing that character, those things have started to come more and more to me because you start to get a reputation. Like when I first started in Senate, all I did was I didn't say anything. I just went left or right depending on the vote. I sometimes voted against everyone else, but a lot of it you get swept up in very good orators because I didn't really know what the fuck was going on.
Well, I think was it last season or the season before you had that instance where you stood on your own in a dissenting position?
That was last one. That was against the Liberty Pact.
Yeah, and it was like, I think stuff like that has really helped define he's a man of principle. Whatever you think about those principles, he is that guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that the Senate should make decisions on what the Empire does within their remit, and I think the all our different governing bodies, that's what governs the Empire. Giving foreign nations power over that, especially ones that don't follow the way, I consider to be quite bad.
Yeah, and you've had this other thing as well, which I think is kind of interesting, where Gellert is very much like, it's military stuff that's handled by the Fawns and the military council, and that's their thing, and they're the best people to do it, if that makes sense.
That's literally how it works.
Yeah.
That's literally how it works.
And but like, as weird as it sounds, like that has become part of the identity of the character. If you know what I'm saying.
I think what's cool about the Senate is, I think as a senator, I should be taking advice from the different bodies on what I should be doing. So if I would like to have, like, and this is the problem without having a throne, is because I can't, as a senator, I can't go to military council. There's lots of things I can't do because the different government states are, the mechanisms of the Empire are separated deliberately. So I can talk to generals, but I can't go to military council. Now, the real person that goes between those and is welcome in all places is the throne.
Right.
We don't have a throne, and therefore, for Gellert, not having a
mechanism of
the designed piece of the Empire, which is to have a throne, is a failure on the senator's part. And bear in mind, it's been 2 years now since Elisabetta went off into the Great Blue Yonder, and therefore, like, Gellert is hellbent. I've already done.
Well, I think also you've received a lot of messages from your constituents on this fact as well, and that further galvanised you towards this course.
Yes.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of more people are heading up to want to be nominated to be the throne, so they can sort them out and actually get a throne. And what that really means is more and more candidates, less and less conviction.
Yeah.
we can talk about this.
No, I just think it was interesting because I don't know how you feel, but I felt like you really came into your own as a character this year, essentially. Maybe that's because you had the foil of the roles you've been in gave you that ability to do that.
I felt more like a debutante.
Yeah.
At the start of this year.
Yeah.
And by E4,
yeah,
now I feel like an actual political entity.
Yeah.
Like this is people like have a pretty good idea of what I stand for. I'm not going to go with something I disagree on. I will make statements that are unpopular. All that stuff. It's
I think it's a real it's been a lot of fun to watch you and your team, it has to be said, build towards a lot of the things you've been doing.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting into. We should move on to Friday.
Yes, we should.
And we should do Friday. We should just do Friday because there's some really exciting stuff that happens on Friday, and we should mention it because not everyone listens to PreLARP. Like you PreLARP savages.
Yeah.
Look at you sitting there listening to your PreLARP, going, "Oh, isn't Ian great with the PreLARP?"
You're terrible.
That's you. That is.
Wow.
That's you. That is. Oh, should we do a Patreon roll?
Well, yes, yeah. Have you got a dice at hand? Or are you going to do the old digital dice?
I need to check and see. I don't think we've had any new patrons, so maybe we'll have. Maybe it will be a nice, easy round number. I don't think it was an easy round number.
No, it was 13 last time.
We're on 14 now.
14.
Woo! Oh, we've got a new fellow, Ralph.
Thank you very much, Ralph. In fact, I know who that is.
We should. Oh, you do?
I do. We'll
really?
talk about him later.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's do a D14 roly-poly. Boop, 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 boop. No, I don't want AI.
AI is trying to take over everything. What you don't know is this whole podcast is AI.
I personally welcome our new AI overlords. It's number 12.
Which is...
oh no. Is it Mark? Could you 1, 2, 3, 4,
it's
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
It's
Violet.
It's Violet.
It's Violet.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Violet. Really appreciate you. Right, we'll come back and we'll do Friday. We really padded out this PreLARP episode, didn't we?
Yeah. It's good stuff. You love it.
Yeah, I obviously...
You love it the most.
Love the